Many years ago, in a small village called Kumasi, there lived a girl named Abena. Abena lost her mother when she was still a baby due to childbirth complications. Abena's father, Kofi, got married again when Abena was 4 years old to Akojua. Akojua was a loving wife and a caring stepmother until she had her own child, Kwaku. Abena was so happy to have a younger brother and wanted to be everything a big sister could be, but Akojua restricted her from coming close to Kwaku and constantly reminded her of having a dead mother. Abena would cry and report to her father, Kofi, who had little or nothing to do about it because Akojua had outgrown his control. Many years passed and the children grew into beautiful young people. Akojua made sure that Abena did all the chores, including going to the farm to fetch firewood, fetching water from the river, and cooking with very little food, while Kwaku stayed at home doing nothing and enjoying all the goodies. Kofi became very worried about the condition of his first daughter and wished he had never remarried. He soon developed high blood pressure from constant worries, which eventually claimed his life. Abena was left in the cold ward as an orphan and was treated very badly by Akojua and Kwaku. The prince of Kumasi had been away from the village since he was 6 years old for his primary, secondary, and university studies abroad. It was time for him to return home because, according to the custom of Kumasi, he had to choose a wife. The king's trusted advisor, Nana, was asked to choose 6 beautiful maidens who would stay in the palace when the prince returned in 2 months. Nana selected Abena and 5 other beautiful village maidens. They all started to prepare to look their best. Who knew? The prince might decide to marry one of them and make her the future queen of Kumasi. Some even went as far as offering sacrifices to their gods to be favored. Akojua decided to pamper Kwaku's skin so that it could become like shining glass. She bought different skincare products and made sure she didn't skip any of her routines. Kwaku would admire himself in the mirror because his skin became as fresh as milk. Meanwhile, Abena was given more work to do and was instructed to bathe only once in 2 days so that she would look sick, dry, and unpresentable before the prince for an outright rejection. One of the villagers named Ajua noticed what Akojua and Kwaku were doing to Abena. She said to them, "Mother and son, what you are doing to Abena is wrong and unacceptable. The world is a circle and unpredictable. The future of this girl is unknown to you and it might be brighter than that of your son. Please stop this maltreatment before it is too late." "God forbid," Akojua said. "My son's future is secured and Abena will never be close to him." Kwaku added, "Ajua, it is obvious you don't wish me well, so please leave now." Ajua replied, "May the earth, the trees, and everything around us bear witness that I have warned you." The day before the selected girls were to move into the palace, Abena was happy because she would finally be free from the hard work for 2 months, have access to good food, and bathe daily. Confined within the walls of her room, she made a little prayer and said, with hot tears dropping down her cheeks, "O Lord, I commit those that are pregnant into your hands. May they not die leaving their children in this cold world. Keep them alive to train their children and may their children not end up like me, working from morning till night with no food, bathing once in 2 days, with no good clothes, no good shoes, no friend, no father, no mother, just me and Kwaku." She paused and cried for a long time, then concluded her prayers with, "Let your will for my life be done as I move into the palace tomorrow." The day finally came and Kwaku had arranged all his beautiful clothes, jewelry, and skincare products in his box, while Abena had no good clothes to carry along. She decided to go with the one she had on, as the only important thing to her was leaving the house. Immediately she came out to join Kwaku, Akojua ordered her back inside. For the very first time, Abena questioned her orders and asked why. Akojua responded by giving her a very hard slap. So you want to move into the palace to tell them that you work from morning till night without being fed and wear only one dress to make it look like I don't care? You witch! Abena said, Mother, please. Akojua interrupted, I am not your mother. Your lazy and weak mother is in the grave. If you have anything to say to your mother, then go to her grave. She then turned to her son, Kwaku, and said, when they ask you about Abena in the palace, just tell them she said the king, the prince, the elders, and the people of Kumasi should all go to hell, that she is not interested in the offer. Kwaku said to Abena, oh, poor girl, try and have a mother in your next life. He then carried his box and left for the palace. Abena's hope of leaving the house was dashed, and for the first time, she felt like ending it all right there, but she couldn't find anything to execute her thoughts. Just then, Ajua appeared and asked what happened. Akojua said, nothing happened, go to your house, gossip. Ajua then turned to Abena and asked why she was still in the house and not dressed, while the other maidens had already arrived at the palace. Abena summoned the courage and told Ajua how she had been stopped by her stepmother, how she had been working from morning till night with little or no food to eat, how she was instructed to bathe once in 2 days, and how the clothes she was wearing were the best she had. Ajua turned to Akojua and said, Woman, where is your conscience? You were supposed to be a pillar of support, a guide, and a mother to this young girl, whom life has been so unfair to, but you decided to be her nightmare. How do you sleep at night, knowing that you are under the same roof with someone who hasn't eaten or bathed? How? At this time, Abena was so broken, she said to Ajua, Please ma, how can I die now, because I can't continue living in this miserable world. Don't say that again, Ajua said. You are a child of destiny, and no matter what Akojua and Kwaku do, you must fulfill your destiny. She then turned to Akojua and said, if you don't let her go this moment, I will personally go and report you to the king, and Kwaku will be evicted, and both of you will be severely punished. Akojua had no choice but to let Abena join the other maidens in the palace. Ajua took her first to her house, made sure she had a thorough bath, and gave her a few of her daughter's clothes. Abena was so grateful, and she made her way to the palace. On getting to the palace, the gate had been shut, and Abena knocked carefully. The gatekeeper opened the gate and questioned her. Please don't send me away, she said. My stepmother tried to stop me, but somehow God came through for me. The gatekeeper said, just hold on because the king has already met with the other guests, and if he sees you later in their midst, I will be severely punished. Just give me a few seconds to go discuss with him. The gatekeeper went to the king and said, Your Highness, there is a maiden at the gate. She said her stepmother delayed her. The king said, I was told the girls are not complete, so you can let her in. The gatekeeper returned to Abena and said, You are very lucky, the king has ordered that you can join the rest of the guests. Abena was grateful to God, at least she was safe from her stepmother's trouble. The king had ordered that the girls be put in pairs in the rooms, so Abena was made to join Efua. She was so happy to finally find a home outside the lion's den she was born into. A meeting was called for the girls to introduce themselves to the palace maids, and introduction started. There was Efua, Akua, Oma, Ya, and finally Abena. The king didn't disclose the reason he wanted them to be in pairs, so he quietly and secretly installed cameras in their rooms and strategic places in the palace. 1 week passed, and the girls all behaved well. However, their true characters were revealed in the second week. During their morning routine, Abena performed excellently well because she was used to walking alone. Kwaku was so envious, he decided to do something that would get Abena evicted from the palace. Abena, on her part, was avoiding Kwaku and was obedient to every instruction because she didn't want to get into any trouble. She barely sat idle, as she wasn't trained to, so she sometimes found her way to the kitchen to help the maids with cooking and doing the dishes. She felt so relaxed among the maids and even hoped to be employed as one of them once the 2 months were over. Amma was very troublesome in the palace and claimed a position she hadn't attained. Yet, she even beat one of the maids, thinking that she was higher than them in status. Amma said to one of the maids, "Who are you? My boyfriend just gave me an iPhone last week, so don't compare yourself to me." This happened before Abena arrived at the palace. To be continued. One morning, Abena went to the kitchen to help with the cooking and Amma shouted at her, "Abena, what are you doing here? Are you a maid?" "I didn't come here to be a maid, so stop degrading yourself. Who knows, you might have sent out some details already. Just tell me you are one of them in this disguise." She then pushed Abena to the ground, causing her to fall and hit her head on a chair. The king's men quickly rushed to separate the fight and treated Abena. Abena didn't report Amma to the king, but she stayed away from her. That evening, the king had a meeting with all the maidens and told them that each one of them would be in the prince's palace alone for 1 week to see their true character. The prince's palace had everything a girl would want, including a private pool, big enough to host the entire palace maids, each with their own separate bathroom, rooms filled with beautiful clothes, shoes, perfumes, etc. The first person to move in was Akua. The first night, she slept and enjoyed herself, ate good food, and tried on all the beautiful clothes. However, on the second day, her true character began to show as she sent away the cook and other maids from the house, saying, "I don't need you guys anymore. I'm the new queen, so I can do everything myself." The king and the elders watched her on their screen and kept silent. On the third day, Akua couldn't do everything herself, so she began to complain. By the 5th day, she had already messed up the house and couldn't wait for the 7th day to come to an end. The king saw all that and told Nana that she would not be considered for the prince's wife. On the 8th day, it was Efua's turn to move in. Efua was a well-trained girl and was very respectful to everyone in the house. She never complained even when she had nothing to do because the maids did everything. By the 5th day, she decided to send away all the maids to do everything herself. She tried her best, but it wasn't enough to keep the house clean and make the prince proud. The next was Ya. Ya was very gentle, did her best, and never sent any maid away. She tried her best to look out for everyone in the house and make them feel at home. She made sure everyone was happy and tried to clean her own things so that the maids wouldn't have much to do. It was now Amma's turn to move in. She arrived with her head held high, thinking she was the new queen already. She sent all the maids away, saying, "I don't need anyone around me. I can do everything myself." But she soon realized that managing such a big house was not an easy task. By the 3rd day, she had made a mess of everything and even broke some of the prince's precious vases. She called the maids back, but they refused to come. The king watched all this and shook his head in disappointment. Finally, it was Abena's turn to move in. She was the last girl and was very nervous because she didn't know what to expect. As she entered the house, she saw the beautiful clothes, shoes, and perfumes, and her eyes widened in amazement. She had never seen such luxury in her life. The first thing she did was to thank God for giving her this opportunity. Then she called all the maids together and said, "I am new here, and I don't know how things are done, but I want us to work together as a team. I don't want to send anyone away, because I believe everyone has a role to play. Please, let's make this house a happy place for everyone." The maids were very happy to hear this and agreed to help her. They all worked together, and the house was spotless. Abena treated everyone with respect and kindness, and the maids loved her for that. She even cooked for everyone and made sure they all had enough to eat. By the seventh day, the house was still clean, and everyone was happy. The king and the elders watched this and were very impressed. They saw that Abena had the qualities of a good queen. She was kind, respectful, and knew how to work with others. Abena's week ended, and she returned to the main palace with the other maidens. The king called them all together and announced that the prince had returned and would meet them the next day to make his final decision. Abena was very nervous, but she trusted God and prayed that his would be done. The next day, the prince arrived, and he was very handsome. All the maidens were excited to see him, and they all tried their best to impress him. The prince greeted them all and asked each of them about their experience in his palace. Akua, Efua, Ya, Oma, and Abena all shared their experiences. The prince listened carefully and nodded. Then he said, "I have made my decision. The girl I choose to be my wife is..." Before he could finish, Oma interrupted him and said, "Your Highness, I deserve to be your queen because I am the most beautiful and the smartest. These other girls are not worthy of you." The prince looked at her and said, "Oma, beauty and intelligence are important, but they are not the only qualities a queen should have. A queen should be kind, respectful, and know how to work with others. Abena has shown all these qualities, and that is why I choose her to be my wife." Everyone was shocked, especially Akojua and Kwako, who had come to the palace to see the prince's decision. They couldn't believe that Abena, the girl they had mistreated for so long, was now going to be the future queen of Kumasi. Abena was also surprised and very happy. She thanked God for his blessings and promised to be a good queen. The prince took her hand and said, "Abena, you have shown me that you have a good heart, and that is what I need in a queen. Together, we will make Kumasi a better place for everyone." The wedding preparations began, and the whole village of Kumasi was invited. Everyone was happy for Abena, and they all praised her for her kindness and perseverance. Abena's life had changed for the better, and she was grateful for everything. The story of Abena's rise from a poor orphan to a queen became a legend in Kumasi, and it was told to children for generations to come. Abena and the prince ruled Kumasi with wisdom and kindness, and their reign was remembered as one of the best in the history of the village. The wedding day finally arrived, and Abena looked radiant in her beautiful dress. The whole village gathered to celebrate the union of Abena and the prince. It was a joyful occasion, and everyone could see how happy the couple was. As they exchanged vows, the prince promised to always cherish and protect Abena, while Abena promised to be a faithful and loving wife. The ceremony was followed by a grand feast, where everyone ate, drank, and danced to celebrate the new royal couple. Abena's life had truly changed, and she was grateful for everything that had happened to her. She knew that God had a plan for her, and that everything she had gone through had led her to this moment. She was determined to be a good queen and to use her position to help others who were less fortunate. Years passed, and Abena and the prince ruled Kumasi with wisdom and kindness. They had children of their own and were loved by all the people of the village. Abena never forgot where she came from and always made sure to help those in need. As she grew older, Abena would often tell her children and grandchildren the story of how she had become queen. She would remind them of the importance of kindness, respect, and hard work, and how these qualities had helped her to overcome all the challenges she had faced. Abena's story became a legend in Kumasi, and it was passed down from generation to generation. Her life taught many important lessons, and these lessons are still relevant today. Moral lessons. 1. Kindness and respect. Abena's kindness and respect for others helped her to win the hearts of the people around her. She treated everyone with dignity and was rewarded with love and admiration. Related Bible verse, Ephesians 4 verse 32, be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you. 2. Perseverance and hard work. Despite facing many challenges, Abena never gave up. She worked hard and never lost hope, which eventually led her to success. Related Bible verse, Galatians 6 verse 9, and let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. 3. Humility. Abena remained humble even after becoming queen. She never forgot where she came from and always treated others with humility and grace. Related Bible verse, Philippians 2 verse 3, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. 4. Faith in God's plan. Throughout her journey, Abena trusted in God's plan for her life. She believed that everything happened for a reason and that God would always be there to guide her. Related Bible verse, Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. Abena's story teaches us that no matter how difficult life may seem, with kindness, perseverance, humility, and faith, we can overcome any challenge and achieve our dreams.